Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Council for the Town of Petawawa meeting. I'd like to call it to order for October 15th, 2025. Welcome to members of council, staff. Oh, pardon?
September.
What did I say?
October.
Guess what it says on the sheet? I guess I shouldn't be reading. I should be more aware of where I am and what I'm doing. It is September 15th, 2025. And welcome, of course, to all the members of the public who've joined us here this evening and our special guests as well. We'll begin this evening's meeting with a land acknowledgement, and this evening it is Councillor Kutu.
Thank you, Mayor Surface. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omama-Wanini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omama-Wanini people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Call to action number 68. We call upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples and the Canadian Museums Association to mark the 150th anniversary of Canadian Confederation in 2017 by establishing a dedicated national funding program for commemoration projects on the theme of reconciliation. Recent progress. Through the Canada 150 Fund, over 30 million has been invested in 248 community projects that contribute to celebrating Indigenous communities or reconciliation amongst Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in Canada.
Thank you, Councillor Kutu. And on that note, I'd just like to let everybody know that we are having a Truth and Reconciliation Day ceremony. I better get this date right. September 30th. Right behind us here down at Centennial Park. More details to follow. And now I just ask that everybody here present in the room would please join me in standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. Okay, I need a motion to approve this evening's agenda. Moved by Councillor Root, second by Councillor Carmody, that the agenda for September 15th, 2025, got it right that time, regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in any of this evening's matters? Then we have some minutes for approval. Council meeting minutes from September 2nd, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held September 2nd, 2025 be approved as printed and circulated. Are there any concerns, questions? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, we're rolling. We'll move right into our presentation this evening. This evening we have a presentation on protecting health and forests in Renfrew County. So I'd like to welcome Stacey Foley, who's a holistic nutritionist, and Charity, I hope I say this last name right, Parisian?
Yeah, it's good.
Who's an environmental technician. And they're here to address council on protecting the health and forests in Renfrew County. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, council. My name is Stacey Foley. I'm a holistic nutritionist who was born and raised in the Ottawa Valley. I'm also co-owner of a local home building and construction company. We also own Pinnacle Landing Apartments here in Petawawa. The Ottawa Valley is very close to my heart. My work in health and wellness has given me a deep understanding of how human health is directly linked to the health of our environment. I care deeply about living in a sustainable way and protecting our forests, waterways, the air, the animals, human health, and our generations to come. It's shocking that in 2025, in the Ottawa Valley and in Canada, which is the second largest country in the world, we are still using toxic chemicals on our forest and in our communities that science has shown to be harmful. I want to protect the waters and nature and animals and humans, and that's what we're here today to bring awareness and to ask you to help us. When we poison the planet, we poison ourselves. Glyphosate doesn't just kill weeds. It disrupts soil microbes that sustains the forest. It goes deep into the soil and the plants and the waterways and the air where we feel it in our bodies and our homes. It doesn't just go on the forest and the soil. It is so much more than that. It interferes with human health by acting as an endocrine disruptor linked to cancer, gut imbalances, reproductive harm, and so much more. Humans are not separate from the ecosystem. We are the ecosystem. Every cell in our body is linked to the soil, the water, the air, and the food webs that sustain life. Scientifically, we are literally walking ecosystems. Our gut microbiome is home to trillions of bacteria, fungi, and microbes that regulate and protect us, just like an internal forest. Just how an external forest protects the planet, that's how our gut microbiome protects us. And that's why spraying herbicides is not just an environmental issue, it is a human health issue. Chemicals like glyphosate simply don't just disappear after you spray them on the forest. They bind to soil particles, leach into waterways, drift in the air, and eventually make their way into our food that we're consuming every day in our bodies. Research shows that glyphosate disrupts the shikimate pathway in bacteria. Humans don't have this pathway, but our gut microbiome does. This means herbicides can alter the balance of beneficial microbes that weaken the gut barrier, increase inflammation, and inflammation is the root driver of all disease, and impair immune function. The damage doesn't stop at the soil, it extends directly into human biology. Last week, I met with Dr. Francois Hibert, a researcher, an engineer, and a biologist in the Quebec's Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. It was an incredible meeting. And our conversation made one thing clear, that spraying glyphosate is not the only way or the best way to manage our forests. Quebec has banned the herbicide spray of glyphosate in 2001, and their forestry, their practices are thriving. They've shifted to methods like manual brushing crews, mulching equipment, and mixed planting strategies that protect the pine, which is what the forestry companies are trying to do here. But they're also protecting biodiversity, which is so important for everything I just talked about. These approaches create more local jobs and healthier ecosystems without dumping chemicals from planes. Over 40 countries worldwide have already taken this step. We can too here in the Ottawa Valley. We can do the same. We can protect our forests, water, animals, create jobs, and safeguard the health of our community and the future generations to come, because it is so clear that the health of the planet and humans is in a really big decline. If we work together, we can truly make a change. I'm sorry for being so emotional. I apologize because I'm so passionate about this and I want to work together and so we can make a difference like other communities have. Thank you for your time, Council. I'm going to pass it over to you, Charity.
My name is Charity. I'm an environmental technician. My background right out of school was in the Alberta oil sands, and I worked in land reclamation and in forestry. So on August 1st, the Ministry of Natural Resources announced through Facebook that they would be doing an aerial spray of glyphosate over some of the Crown land and the Maria, I always mess up the municipality. Anyway, in the northwest corner of Renfrew County.
Ted, Claire, and Mariah.
Thank you very much. I struggle to memorize that one in my brain. This area where they had the proposed spray, which they did do starting September 1st, had 16 watersheds, which included swamps and ponds and streams. And as Stacy said, all of these ecosystems are extremely sensitive to the point where even for invasive species, things like owls, if you see them, you're actually not supposed to go near them because they will actually starve themselves and die. And unfortunately, since 2022, the Ministry of Natural Resources actually has like a pause on the Invasive Species Act, sorry, not invasive, the Species at Risk Act, only for forestry, so that they can actually go in and do projects like these with no regard for some of the wildlife. But as I said, it's a delicate system. So what you see here on the screen, the bottom right hand, it's a Cape May warbler. And for those of you that don't know, the province of Ontario is incredibly special, not just because of all the water. If you go to other provinces, you'd know like Ontario is so beautiful, but we're also the funnel for all of the migratory birds in all of Canada. And so this proposed spray, which did, as I say, occur, happened right during the middle and start of migratory bird season. Not only that, but also the very beginning of moose hunting season. So these little birds, we see that the top right, their main food source is actually insects straight from pine trees. And so a lot of these birds that are coming and landing on these trees are not just taking up and being poisoned themselves, but also carrying this to forests that are incredibly healthy. So not only that, but these sprays do collect on all of the trees, on all of the soil, the foliage, which means all of the habitats for these animals and critters, but also the invertebrates, the things in the water and the things that keep everything clean. The earth is an incredible system and it's naturally filtrating. As we all know, beginning in the 1830s, Renfrew County established a wonderful logging boom. And so with our long history, it created the beginning of our identity. I grew up here, so I mean, a little Killaloon me in Stone Fence Theater. I know a lot about the history, and 8.7% now of all the people in Renfrew County are actually clarified as Indigenous people. And what's a most amazing fact is 48% of the land here is actually Crown land. So when you think about it, we're trying to protect 48% of the surface area of Renfrew County. Now there in the same area are 18 local companies working as sawmills or with direct products related to forestry. So in the top upper right-hand quadrant is where the proposed spraying was, but all of the green spaces are our Crown land. I wish I could have zoomed it in so that you could see all of the watersheds, but there are many. So we're not coming to you with problems. That's not who we are. We're coming with alternatives. And so this is the Quebec model. This is the sustainable development and reforestation. So essentially, the reason that forestry uses glyphosate is because they want what's called a monoculture. They want as many trees as they can come and log out, specifically meaning pine trees and evergreens, jack pines, etc. The issue with this is if you have a lot of those trees, as most of you have bonfires at home, they're extremely flammable. So the reason we have deciduous trees here by nature's course of action and how we were created, all the foliage stops and helps prevent wildfire. The other thing is that glyphosate, when it's sprayed, it kills all of the lower vegetation, which actually creates tinder, a dry tinder box. So in those heat. They also did spray in a heat wave against the label instructions. So for the model, scarcification is essentially what you see when you are looking at farmers. They tear up all the land, they build nice big beautiful mounds. If any of you are potato farmers, you know what I'm talking about. They put that pine seedling on top, which gives it a little bit of leeway so that none of the competitive vegetation, things like maple, alder, blackberry, and raspberry, don't come over and prevent the seedling from getting enough sun to grow big. Then they do their planting, and they actually do 2,000 trees per day per planter. And I can tell you, these planters, when they're good, they're real good. That equates to 3.7 million little seedlings per year. And they can brush clear 6,000 hectares, which is actually slightly more than Ottawa Valley Forest. So this has been proven in Quebec since 2001. Now, I'm biased. This is my favorite alternative, but I come from a little line of sheep farming. So sheep grazing partnerships. We all go around Renfrew County and we see all the farms. We see that some of them could use a little bit of love on the outside. They're getting a little leany. So sheep not only replace the chemicals by eating all that competitive vegetation, they do not touch the pine saplings. But this also encourages partnerships with local farmers. And the reason why that's so great is because farmers don't need to take care of their livestock for the summer. They can rejuvenate their own land. It's a really wonderful partnership. And there's very, very few boards that these farmers can actually use out of the trees they're taking away. So it's just enough to keep a balance where the companies are coming in and getting all they need, because there's very few, as I said, that are straight enough to make barn boards, but it's there and it's going to help build some of our infrastructure. So providing grazing contracts is steady farm income. And if we can do anything to help sustain our own local food supply, but also our farmers, we should be doing that. And that should be a huge priority. This also adds fertility to the soil because sheep manure enriches the soil. We're leaving it better than we found it. We're not taking away, and we're certainly not poisoning it. And the last is it engages families and strengthens local economy. Alternative 3 is what they do now, which is the manual brushing crews. Though they do say it's a lot of labor and it takes a lot of time, honestly, all of the good projects do. It does create direct employment. The crews manage the competing vegetation just using hand tools, chainsaws, things like that. The other thing, it can encourage some youth employment, Indigenous partnerships. Obviously, seasonal jobs are huge in Renfrew County, so this is wonderful because most of us are still into firewood. It's also safer for the environment than aerial sprays, but most importantly, it keeps money circulated here, not in all of those aviation fuel contracts, which a lot of the time, when I looked it up, end up going south of the border. We're going to avoid that discussion. So alternative 4, this is the most important slide, so councillors, just please watch. So it's mulching equipment and biomass jobs. So mulching equipment clears the brush and prevents the regrowth. It leaves nutrients on the forest floor and it creates healthier soil. So it really is a significant job increase because there's so much to have been collect also, all of the mulch. It positions the valley though to be a leader in green forestry, and we're already there, and I'll tell you why. So back in 2022, the Ontario government actually proposed a grant for $11.3 million to go in towards the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, specifically to biomass jobs, which means essentially that they're going to take use renewable energy to power this, that, and the other thing. And so thankfully to our old MP, John Yakubuski, who's now a lobbyist, he managed to snag $5.5 million for Ben Oakham's and Sons, and they're one of our largest sawmills. And so they are actually in the process now of adding on, which I think is an incredible program. And I want you all to go home and do your reading on it. Now, the thing is that if they're spraying these trees and then you're going to burn it, well, you can't call them biofuels because that's not ethical. They're no longer trees, they're a mixture GMO sort of hybrid, which is actually going to be polluting the air when it's burned. And so now we're talking about air abatement and pollution, and I'm going to skip that topic but make you aware of it. So the mulching provides this local biomass supply for the boiler, but the other issue, if I'm not going to, I will jump back, is now look at our crown land. We need to make sure that not only are the trees that we're taking clean, but Ben Oakham's and Son is not just going to power their plant, they're also going to sell to hydro and bring electricity to 12,000 homes. So making sure that we're doing this sustainably is incredibly important, because what they just sprayed is our whole top quadrant up there, and healthy forests really do mean healthy people and healthy families. So the success stories that you can read about, British Columbia and Alberta have a lot of large-scale sheep grazing programs. We do have a Facebook page. I've been in partnership with a wonderful woman in Alberta who does this herself and is the owner, and she is an incredible source of information. A lot of European countries have also moved away from glyphosate, and Quebec, as Stacey said, they banned it in 2001, and they're booming over there. They've got beautiful forests, and anyone that knows when you take the back drive to Quebec, it's the best drive because of the hills and the tree side. But most importantly, the communities are restoring biodiversity by rejecting the use of chemicals. And I can speak for my generation. I know I can when I say that we're very conscientious of our labels on food. And I think the more we can do here personally, the better. So what we're asking from council, how we can become allies, is just showing shared responsibility for these forests and for the management of the water and for the health of all of us. The common ground are we want to see more jobs here. We're parents, we have friends, like we all know that that's what keeps the abundance flowing in our community. But most importantly, like taking care of our health. We also have a shortage of doctors, but also the natural beauty of Renfrew County. And I would like to, I guess it'll be on the next slide, sorry. So strong public support through petitions and testimonies. We do have a provincial petition, and sorry, not provincial, a federal petition right now that's going to be activated by Ms. Cheryl Gallant this week. Watch her online. Sorry, Cheryl. Empower leadership and opportunity for council to lead on sustainability. So we're honored to be here because you're also our first town meeting of 17. And you can bet your buns that we'll be at 16 more places by Christmas. So now what we would like to ask of council is to support these alternatives and all of these projects, to support the petitions, both provincially and federally. But we want you to send letters to the province and the AMO, even though I know your meeting was a couple weeks ago, we're a couple weeks late, because we want a moratorium over the spray of glyphosate. We do not need it. It also includes like the use on our lawns and creating bylaws and buffer zones for schools, because there have been many people coming online to say that they were big soccer players and they lived their lives on the field and now actually do have cancer. Those things, when you hear them, they break your heart because they're preventable. And that's why we're here. So we'd like to encourage all municipalities and especially the County of Renfrew to pass resolutions for this, because they've done their share of spraying on trails this summer, which we don't need to do. Again, creating jobs for summer students too. Let's make those kiddies work. So the final thing is to host public forums and maybe surveys just to reflect on community voice. Showing alternatives to what you can use on your lawn instead, or why the dandelions are wonderful pollinators for bees and butterflies, which we've seen a huge decline in. So our closing message is healthy forests really do mean healthy people. It's not just our guts, it's also our mental health. It's the air we breathe. And you know what, back to jumping on the trails, the community trails, our kids forage on the trails. We pick raspberries and blueberries and flowers, and we're breathing all these things in, and our dogs just as well, walking through everything and coming home with us. We're not just supporting people, we're supporting communities. And you know what? There's a huge united front across not just Ontario, but all of the provinces right now. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're being a part of. And this is the first council that gets to start that fire in Renfrew County, and I love it. Together, we get to protect the water, the soil, the wildlife, and ourselves. And if you didn't know, what goes outside of us starts within us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for choosing us first. We feel very important. Thank you for sharing all of this information with us. And it's quite obvious that both of you are very passionate about your concerns with the health of our forests and the health of all of the people who live in Renfrew County. We as a council, I can't speak for everybody, but we share a concern for the environment as well. We have kids, we have grandkids, and we have to make sure that we protect the health of all of our offspring going forward in the future. So thank you for sharing all of this information. There was a lot of this that I wasn't aware of before. So it's great that you brought all of this forward. I'll open it up to the council for questions or comments. Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation. Really appreciate it. Strongly support it. I have been very anti-glyphosate for quite some time, mainly in the agricultural sector. Never really considered it too much about it in the forestry sector, but I mean, now that the more I read into it, it goes hand in hand. I come from many generations of forestry workers. My dad worked at Algonquin Park for 43 years, still does. I've marked trees for commercial logging for 3 years. So like I've seen firsthand when people are brushing and when they go out and they do scarification afterwards, and like it does work. So there is alternatives I've seen that we use right next door. So there should be able to be done on both sides. Interesting about the sheep one, I've never ever heard of that. How many hectares can they clear in like how long of a time? Like, is it economically viable for a contractor essentially to operate something like that?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So per 1,000 head of sheep, she clears, it's either 4,000 or 5,000, and depending on the lay of the land, if there's a lot of hills, they might have to go over some of it twice. But what they do is they use dogs. They have I think 4 border collies, and for nighttime they have 6 guard dogs. Things like Great
Pyrenees and stuff.
yeah, Great Pyrenees. Thank you very much. And they don't use fence. They're shepherds. They do one shepherd to every 500 head of sheep. And depending on what kind of breed you have, they all stay together nice and tight. And it's wonderful.
Has anyone done this in Ontario yet? Like the sheep,
You know what? I'm not sure because I actually found this girl through a friend of mine from Alberta Forestry.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. But yeah, anyways, I definitely support it. And also like with what Ben Hogan Sons is doing, I think it is the future of the logging industry. Because we are on the downslide. Like they're closing pulp mills. There's nowhere to bring low grade wood. So if we can repurpose that, that's going to completely reinvigorate our logging industry. And it's like what we grew up on here, right? Like we are born of the logging industry. So like, and we have such diversity of bush here that we have enough to be able to support pine and low grade lumber. So
yeah, and the pulp mill's about 8 hours away, so they're saving quite a bit of fuel, and they are saving the ozone because they're not doing 4 extra trips.
Huge.
So that's huge. But being able to do it sustainably, I think, is what's important. So knowing that if they're going to be powering, 12,000 extra homes, knowing that we've got that sustainability in mind, that we're not overtaking, that we're planting more than what we need, and making sure there's a margin for the ones that don't make it, right? Because if there's a 95% regrowth after 5 years by doing it the manual way, well, if we're doing it through glyphosate, that's not manual. So that's definitely going to go down in percentage, right? Yeah. It's interesting. It opens up a lot of questions.
No, for sure. And I hope what their project goes through does really well, because it definitely will be a showcase for a lot of other small logging towns where it's like, well, we have the raw material, but now we have a new way to generate power and sell it back to the grid. So
yeah,
so I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Carmen.
I'd just like to thank you for bringing your presentation to us tonight. It was very well done, very persuasive. And we see a lot of presentations here, and I can tell you that yours was one of the better ones, certainly. And I guess from personal experience, I have a little piece of property that has a hydro line that goes through it, and hydro always wants to spray. And consistently over the years, I always said no. And they would come in with their brushers and do it manually or whatever. And, I have to consider that. I have to think that, okay, I don't want anybody spraying on my property, but it's all right if you do it somewhere else. You have to think about things.
Well, I think the new era, not just for forestry, but life in general, is holding people accountable. I think we're kind of letting go of the old paradigm that kind of just made everything that was negative, like cyclical, like living in these cycles of, oh, we have this person that doesn't do it. It's like, no, we are here to be accountable for our actions. And that not just includes our autonomy and what we're putting in our bodies, but how we're taking care of the forest and how we are leaving it for our kids. People can say it, but unless they're sitting here or unless they're staying up until 3 a.m. working on things that are actively penetrating the issue, where's the accountability?
Thank you.
Thank you for saying no to the sprays. That shows some tremendous accountability.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really well done. I love the passion behind it. I can tell it's not being faked. It's very sincere. So thank you for that. I was not aware of this chemical and its use in our province, nor where it wasn't being used. So thank you for providing that information. A little bit of research led to a few more discoveries in terms of what's cut back and who hasn't. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot more as this goes forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stacy and Charity, thank you so very much. People like you who come forward with passion and with knowledge and share that knowledge are really give me inspiration for how I'm going to leave this world and know that it will be in good hands. However, there's a lot of information here to digest. I love that you came with some solutions. I know that out at the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery, there's use of sheep as well, right? To do vegetation. So I've sort of seen that in action, and that was the first time I was exposed to it. So there's a lot of good things that can be done, and certainly, our Indigenous people have given us this land, or shared this land with us. Let's say it that way, and are we have a responsibility and accountability to them and to future generations. I don't have any children that I'm moving forward, but I want all of your children and all of your children's children to have a safe and great world. So thank you very much, and I'll definitely do a bit more research as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thank you sincerely for coming tonight. Thank you for your passion. I share it. I'm hoping to send to my fellow councillors a draft resolution, and maybe we can look at it after we've heard from M&R. We've heard from the other side. They're slated to come and answer our questions, and maybe we can make that gesture to other communities as other communities have done, just saying that we would like to protect our waterways, our rivers, our biodiversity, our residents, and for the future, like you say. So thank you, and I'm definitely here to be your ally and to work with you towards spreading the message and creating change, creating that better world. I see it too.
Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to you both for coming. And yes, there's so many new options out here, and you have a lot of support, and there's a real opportunity for the county to jump on this as well. So I'm waiting to hear some things come from them. As you make your way through the county, there's municipalities here, so it's going to be interesting to have this information out to the public and hear a statement from them. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, so thank you very much again for coming. And I was a tree planter back in the day, but I never did 2,000 in a day. Maybe 1,000 tops, so maybe I wasn't 20 trees. Maybe I wasn't as effective as I thought I was. But thanks again for all the information. It's obvious that we're all concerned about the environment, not just the whole world, but especially here in Renfrew County, which is where our children and our grandchildren are going to grow up. So we definitely are going to do some more research and find out as much as we can on this topic that you brought to our attention.
Great.
Thanks
Thank you
again.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm looking at you so you get my voice.
there are no bylaws.
Maybe we can make
You folks don't want to stay for the rest of the excitement?
More exciting.
That was the best part.
Thank you. You're right.
We have no bylaws, no correspondence. We do have some minutes that we need approved.
Slide it with the group.
First up, the council and committee meeting minutes of September 8th, 2025. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held on September 8th, 2025 be accepted by council, and that resolutions from that committee become resolutions of council. Any questions, concerns with the minutes? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have minutes from the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee. Minutes from May 28th, 2025 and July 23rd, 2025. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin. And Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So this was from our May and July meeting. You'll note we didn't meet in June. We were a little too tired, you might imagine. So just a couple things I wanted to highlight, specifically, the Men's Healing Circle program continues to go strong. So it was meeting formally at Town Hall. Town Hall is now under renovations. So it is now meeting at a location in Pembroke. So I just wanted to advertise again that this is really an important program, and it's had a lot of success. People coming in, people going out, and universally reporting that it helped them. It met a need in a moment. So anyone who's looking for a circle of men to sit and talk with, any man, I should say, it's specific to men, but reach out. The new email address is OV for Ottawa Valley, Men's Healing Circle @gmail.com. So you'll get connected with a participant agreement about the confidentiality of the group and the nature of the meetings, and some resources to help you too. So just advertising, this is an important space, I think, that the EDI committee has created, and a need that had been identified previously in this area. So wanted to put that out there because you'll see in the minutes it's going strong. And then the next thing I wanted to highlight, for the Pride event, the donations from the community came up to about $4,000. So it was really one of our biggest and best Pride events. And what those donations allowed us to do is turn around and make this event a real boon to our business community. So you'll see in the minutes some of the businesses that benefited from, the things we purchased from them, the goods and services. And it was our best attended event because we merged the Pride Walk with the Pride event. And I just wanted to highlight, and you'll see in the minutes, we are building that resilient and inclusive community that the CDI committee has set out to build. So the feedback has been immensely positive. Plans are in motion for next year as well. So it's just excellent to see the benefits of all these community efforts. So calling out to some of our partners at PFLAG and the Renfrew at County Women's Sexual Assault Center and our excellent partners, CNL and TD Bank. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Savarin. Also the Teachers Union. So we've had increasing partnerships. So I just wanted to highlight that for the committee because the CDI committee started strong, kept going strong, and I think we're going to finish strong. So just stay tuned for that, and I'm available for any questions that there are.
Questions on the reports? Big thanks to all of our businesses and contributors that donated funds to help make your event that special. And it was very well attended, and you can feel it growing.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any more connection with the Garrison Pride Committee and combining our two events? I know that was once on the radar.
I think I'll turn that over to Deputy Mayor Savarin to answer.
There's been a change in the leadership there due to postings and commitments and whatnot. And as a matter of fact, we have the new person coming into our next meeting to talk about partnerships and how we will move forward this coming year in partnership to deliver a more holistic and community product. Very excited. Thank you.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
No further questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have Petawawa Business Advisory Network minutes from August 12, 2025. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the minutes of the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting held on August 12, 2025 be adopted as information. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've spoken to council and yourself to everything in these minutes. And I know that our manager, Christine Mitchell, of Economic Development Officer, has spoken to this as well. She's probably going to speak a lot more again shortly, but I will take any questions for sure, as always. Thank you.
Questions on the report? I'm looking forward to hearing Christine Mitchell speaking a lot later on this meeting. Okay, if you're comfortable then, I need a motion. Or no, we've got the motion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next up, we have some staff reports. First up is ED-20-2025 Municipal Wayfinding Signage Strategy, which includes the community art concept. Christine, the excitement is building.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So the report before you today is about the Syntax Strategic Municipal Wayfinding Signage Strategy, which includes the community art concept. On August the 11th, the visual suite of designs proposed by Syntax was shared with council and approved. So further flushing of the signage program occurred since that time, and before you today is a strategy that's essentially a roadmap for staff to follow as we implement the new marketing logo, which was endorsed by council on March the 10th. Added to this particular wayfinding strategy, which includes Parks and Recreation representation, it also includes a community art concept, which in a previous report to council, we presented the supporting documentation that verified public consultations and the need for a community art project. And so this provides a cohesive, modern opportunity for that to happen. The suite of designs, the sign designs were provided in the package for council. I believe that Kate has them available as well on the presentation monitor. Oh, yeah, sure. I don't,
There we go.
I don't know necessarily that you want to go through the entire document verbatim. But essentially, adoption of this wayfinding signage strategy, the design suite, will provide, like, as I mentioned, the roadmap to go ahead. Council has already endorsed a grant application, which I'm working on, which is due next week. And so endorsement of this wayfinding signage will also support that application process. You want to go ahead and just flick through, I think, the slides so that we can see it. Obviously, holistically, the standardization of the signage, the modernization, the ability to enhance some of our existing footprints, to reimagine some of the footprints that we currently have, and of course to make sure that we're adhering to the community public consultation pieces through the FICE, the BRNE, the Community Improvement Plan, that these things are realized. So. Yeah, just keep going ahead, Chris. You're doing a fantastic job, Dana White. Again, this is the suite that council has previously seen. This is just gives a little bit more information throughout the course of the document. Carry on. And then as part of this document, as Chris flips through it, you'll see the anchoring mechanisms that are anticipated for it, just a little bit more detail. So when we go to the signage company to support this, there's a little bit more teeth to it. It also provides staff with information on how the implementation will occur and general locations of where we will be putting the various proposed signage, which again, we've also discussed with staff at various points. It included the budget overview provided at a high level from Syntax. Further budget per line item is currently underway. And then this is just the suite of installation and template pieces for it. So adoption of this would replace the existing municipal wayfinding strategy to reflect, like I said, the new logo. Happy to take any questions of council regarding this particular document.
Okay, thanks. Obviously, a lot of work has gone into this, very thorough. And I must say, somebody's at the door. I offered Christine a contact with the Ottawa Valley Arts Council, Community Arts, something like that. And Christine goes, oh, I've already been in contact with them. So the work has been very thorough. Okay, I'll open it up for questions. Councilor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, yes, so I'm really, especially those gateway signs, I'm really impressed with that. I think that's really going to bring our two gateways into our town into where it should be. Tell me though, is this a phased in or is this, we're doing this?
Well, in terms of the ability to do it, the highlighted areas will be the gateways, the nodes, the new welcome signage. Those ones were specifically identified as the key potential areas. Missing pieces from the public consultation. But in order to do it quickly and holistically, we have said we would consider a phased-in approach that then includes the park signs. In terms of the application and general costing, we are going to apply for the grant for the suite of expense associated with the entire flip and see where that lands us in terms of the response. The grant is a 35% matching up to $250,000.
Councilor,
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Because I like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We need a facelift. Some of our signs are in bad shape. Some of our old signs, so that are fair, is there a way that we can work with somebody to maybe donate some of these old signs, or like if they can use them for some other group in our town, they use them for something, or That's a possibility too, so we're just not getting rid of our old signs, like, I mean, like maybe like the frames or structures or anything like that, is that a possibility or?
So, existing posts,
Yes,
the idea is to paint them
okay.
with
we
the
do
new
them.
base color
Okay,
so that we're retaining them. And the signs have been retained with the same portfolio so that they will fit.
okay,
Some of the signs will receive a vinyl application as opposed to a full replacement.
okay,
Signs that are damaged beyond vinyl replacement will receive a full aluminum replacement. Non-existing signs will be created, so we will need posts for those. In terms of the kiosks that have been removed,
Mhm.
I think you guys are aware that one was completely damaged in an accident,
mhm,
has been removed. The other ones will be removed. They will be taken to the Public Works yard if there is interest in acquiring them and they are savable. The Public Works Department will notify us once the removal of those 7 kiosks has happened. Certainly one is no longer viable. But there's not a lot to replace or
Oh,
save
yeah.
outside of those 7 kiosks.
well, thank you for that clarity.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Further questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Sabrin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, thanks for all the work into this. And conceptually, I'm very supportive of the project, and I think it would be a very good thing. Financially, that's still the piece to me that's missing. I see here $160,000 for potentially, that's the high end limit. So I'll go the high end limit because sometimes things have a way of getting there. Is for 20 signs. And I guess I'm just unclear, and maybe that's what your presentation, the next when you come with the budget will show us. Exactly how many signs do we have of each of the areas, you know, exactly what that means. Because you said something about $250,000, up to $250,000. That says to me, and that's just 35%. So that says to me that there's like, you know, almost like $1 million potential here over years. So I just want to be clear on that before I, you know, wholeheartedly jump in. And I like the idea of phasing in. I think that's extremely practical, especially in this day and climate, financially speaking. And for sure, I mean, a lot of the signs are old, they're tired, or they're outdated or whatever. So we have a need to do something regardless. So that's really what I just wanted to communicate tonight. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Councillor Carmen.
Thanks very much, Christine, for bringing this report to us. It's great to have a roadmap that we can go forward with, and I don't see that. I can't imagine why it couldn't be phased in. You know, it seems like the type of thing that would lend itself quite nicely to that. And as the deputy mayor points out, it's, you know, the financial piece certainly needs to be clarified some, but I'm sure that'll come in due course. So thank you.
Councillor Kutcher.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Christine, I had the opportunity to share this with you before, but I just want to say it again. Thank you for your work. What you presented, it's so cohesive, it's functional, it's modern, but it's going to age well. The designs are clean, they're attractive, the contrasts are readable. Like I can see the attention that into this, and then more importantly, like you say, this is going to support all those goals that were outlined in the CIP and all those other directional documents. So, way to go! Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay, like I said earlier, I can feel the excitement building. It's great to see it moving along and getting us closer to the first big unveil, I guess. I also share concerns with the financial picture, but I understand that as we phase things in, there'll be certain asks for certain phases. And of course, once the grant goes out, we'll have a clearer picture of how much we're asking for each particular phase. I guess the question I have is in terms of what is the next step? And I guess in terms of a sign actually going into the ground, what would be the first thing to happen?
Council adopt the wayfinding strategy.
After that.
Then I will submit the grant application. Once the strategy is in place, all future signs being replaced, i.e. because they were damaged, have to be replaced for verbiage, language, that sort of thing, will be in the new format. And then based on the success of the grant and the path forward, then we will come forward. My hope is that the first project is the gateway signs on the 3 locations. The estimate for that is actually just under $8,000. For the medallions, the letters on all 3 of them,
Great.
because we're reusing the base. So that's, I know the budget has a high level cost to it, but I think when you drill it down, it's very achievable.
Well, I like the sounds of the gateway signs being put in first, because that's the first thing people see when they drive into our town. Whether it's us or nearby neighbors or somebody coming from afar, that's the first impression they get of our town. I mean, what we have out there is pretty nice, all the brick and everything else that, you know, is around the signage we have, but I think that will be a real great first start, just to modernize, and it kind of sets the tone. And I love the fact that this is one big grand theme, and all of the signage is somewhat related in terms of the way it looks and it's presented. I love the wayfinding art piece that we're adding to it as well. I think it's great to, you know, for local artists or artists from elsewhere who want to come and compete to get a chance to be in our signage. But I can see this as it unfolds throughout over time and throughout the future. Just a great way of bringing our town together, and whether you're walking or driving an ATV or driving a car through our town, everywhere you look, that you'll see the same thing. And I think it ties things together quite nicely. Okay. So I guess what we're looking for here is a motion. I'll read it just for council so you know what you're moving. That council endorses the Syntax Strategic Municipal Wayfinding Signage Strategy, which includes a community art concept. Endorsement will allow staff to implement that strategy using the design concepts therein. So essentially, we're moving forward the ability for staff to start moving forward with this whole strategy. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Coutu. The council endorses the Syntax Strategic Municipal Wayfinding Signage Strategy, which includes a community art concept. Endorsement will allow staff to implement that strategy using the design concept therein. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. You have your mandate, Christine. Okay, next we have ED-21-2025, the Kiddyland Ball Diamond and Petawawa letter sign. Christine, you're up again.
I'm up again. So originally 2 separate reports rolled into one, so please forgive us because they take place at the same location. So just a bit of background on the project. We've been working on creating a second community hub at the Kiddyland Norman Street area for quite some time. Started off with a presentation to the council of the day in 2019 about a container market concept that morphed into a 25th anniversary legacy project of building a comfort station to serve as the warming center and washroom services for the redevelopment of this entire 8-acre parcel of property, of which there was always a proposed in and out concept from Petawawa Boulevard to be part of the tourism and resident access to the facility from Petawawa Boulevard. Of course, the project was also supported by the twinning of the Algonquin Trail pre-2017, or as part of 2017, at council's will to separate motorized and non-motorized use once the acquisition of the Algonquin Trail came through, and then designating the Kiddyland Park area as a staging area for ATV and snowmobile. So this has been an ongoing process to support this particular location and part of its redevelopment. In an initial concept through Think Design, the ball diamond was removed from the portfolio of activities at this particular site to allow for the most space to be used for other activities. It was felt at the time that there was sufficient ball fields and the potential to expand a ball field elsewhere to accommodate. We did, of course, go through public engagement. It was part of the recreation master plan without the ball field. We did receive consultation, communication, staff reviewed numbers and usage. And in terms of the best approach, it was to leave the ball diamond at this location, or leave a ball diamond at this location. In order to accommodate the design and development, that ball diamond needs to be reoriented on the site so that there is green space to allow for the other amenities to be built in the future. So before council is the concept with the ball diamond in a reorientated position. And this was presented as part of the community consultation, which recently happened regarding the in and out, which Chris is going to speak to a little bit later. Staff also consulted with the league. The president of the league actually attended this session and has been working with Ted Marcotte on this particular piece to ensure that the ball diamond stays. In tandem with that, we've been working on the Petawawa letter sign. So back in November of 2023, council received a report from the Petawawa Business Advisory Network on the reasons to create a Petawawa letter sign and searching for areas to potentially do that. Preliminary costing done through the PBEN's group put the project at about $90,000, which was then allocated in 2025. We did hire Intuit Designs. We needed to compare apples to apples and not like we needed to have the right language and the right terms in order to issue an RFQ. So Intuit Designs was able to do that for us and create a package. So they presented a suite of 3 different design sign portfolios, which we drilled down to this particular one for usability, accessibility, that sort of thing. And they also provided us with the template for the artist's work, which will go on top of the sign. So that was all part of that work, which allowed us to go to RFQ under the budgeted portfolio. And we did receive, as I reported at my last monthly report, we did have 11 queries on the project, 3 submissions. They were scored separately by 3 different staff members, and we did award it to Speed Pro Signs in the amount of just over $49,000. This was for the fabrication, the installation, the delivery and installation of the Petawawa letter sign. The base of the sign was to be part of the in and out works, reusing some of the soil and the opportunity to raise the area of performa in order to bring the land up so that the sign sits appropriately so that it can be seen from the road portfolio and not lower into the valley. All that to bring us around to the discussion points of today, which are 2 things that are coming before council. One is a preliminary estimate for the reorientation of the ball field is roughly $80,000. And there is an opportunity for us to go out at council's leisure to tender that particular project and see if the work can be done within the next few weeks to allow for the infield to be created in the reorientated location in advance of next spring, which would allow a full season play on that particular field next year. Staff would go out to tender immediately if council supports this. We understand that the $80,000 that's proposed for this project was not part of capital works, but there is operational dollars that have been underspent in the facilities department that can pay for this work. So it's work that could be done this year, potentially saving a season next year, or further delays because the tender performa, the companies that can do this, they schedule very quickly for this type of work. We do know that there is an opening in the next little while, which is why we are bringing this before council's consideration. And the second thing before council is the visualization of the sign and a visualization of the placement at the Kiddyland Park site. The sign design is in a curved format, saving some of the space. JP2G went out and did do a layout of the performa of the sign in that space, showing the height of the sign, the distance, the 2-meter setback. And so we just wanted to come before council and talk about that and ensure that you're happy with that placement. It offers the most visibility for the sign from people coming into Petawawa from the Garrison direction. A flat formation would only be visible when you're right in front of the sign, and any other alteration on the site of the sign would then benefit the other direction, and then the backstop would be a parking lot for the sign. So that was the original location intent, and so we just want to have that discussion with council as to if they're happy. I do want to fully disclose, I've heard the rumblings that the visual of the sign, please be aware that that is not the artwork that will be on the sign. That was that was the engineer we hired Intuit Design as he was showing us the application of graphics on a sign, the detail around these kind of things. That was their interpretation of it. Please be assured that that is not what will be on the sign. The sign will be a base white letter sign. The idea, again, as presented to council, was that there would be an artist's interpretation of work that will go on the sign. I'm working with an art consultant to support us through that process. It would be a formalized RFQ process where we would provide them with the template of the sign, ask them to submit proposed works. There would be a review process and an engagement of the artist chosen based on the selected works to create it. The vinyl would be created and then applied to the sign structure. So let me give you that peace of mind in that particular piece. In terms of the financial implications, again, related to the ball diamond, there are funds in underspends in operational dollars that will support that that particular piece if it's council's will. And at present, the Petawawa letter sign is under budget. We're just seeking your support in the orientation of the sign so we can continue to proceed with the work on that particular piece of project. Happy to take questions and answer things if I can.
Okay, well, thanks, Christine. That's disappointing. I thought that was a really good representation of the town of Petawawa. Okay, so what we're looking at here are two separate distinct items. So I think what we'll do is we'll discuss the ball diamond one first. I think it's great that we had a public meeting, and it was good to see two members of the executive of the ball, Petawawa Minor Ball there, to get their feedback and hear that they were in favor of the realignment of the ball field, and plus it'll give it a refresh. You know, the dugouts are a little outdated, let's say, and it'll provide, you know, there was a lot of green space out in the back end of the ball field that wasn't really being used for anything. Now it'll be turned around and be able to be used for the future container market. Okay, so we'll discuss the realignment of the ball diamond first. Councilor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say, since this design came out, that was always my sticking point, was the elimination of the ball diamond. I'm glad to see that is there. I genuinely think it's going to only benefit our container market by bringing in patrons every single day of the week. Question on the financial aspect. Are we able to use any of the clay from the infield to move it over? And like that fence, was that fence done when all the other fences for all the other ball diamonds were done in the last couple of years? I know when they did Bones Park, and they did all the ones at the Civic Center. Can we reuse that fence and just be moved over, or is it all brand new?
So the clay, some of the clay will be used to create the base of the new, but they want to bring in new
Fair
clay.
enough, top grade,
to-
100%.
And the mound will have multiple surfaces. We will be removing the backstop as a next phase and reusing the backstop. So we also have a quote on that. To the tune of about $10,000.
That's just, yeah, just new roads. We're not
Exactly.
buying new fence.
We're not buying new
No.
fence, we're removing it, saving what we can, removing the concrete from it and reinstalling it. The larger portion of the work is creating the infield so that the diamond is ready to go. In the spring, the moving of the backstop can occur, the reinstallation of the backstop can occur. It's anticipated that the little shelters, there's a lot of damage to them currently, so they would be rebuilt as part of this in a smaller, more reasonable format, but to accommodate the team. So
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to the new ball down there. I think it's gonna be really good. And I will say too, that I've spent several trips now to that park. I bring my kids there to get to talk to people and see, ask them about the redevelopment, and there is a lot of excitement for it. So I'm interested to see how we're gonna pay for it, but I'll worry about that when the budget comes. But yes, I like it.
Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I wanted to say with the reorientation, I think it's going to utilize that parking lot better down where the ball diamond will be. And again, I can, like Adam, I can speak from personal experience bringing kids to the ball game there. Once the trail was up and running, there was a bit of conflicting use between people parking for the ball diamond, people parking for ATV trail use. So I like the separation that's going to create. And I'm not surprised, same as Adam, to hear the numbers on that ball diamond use, because it seemed to me it was always very happening. So I'm not surprised that it's still sort of needed in our portfolio. But being that's the case, I think this will create sort of that continuity of use where we have now that green space, that space to redevelop that other end, and then that community ball diamond will be in a nice little spot, but also bringing in other people to those areas. So I love this redevelopment. I think that's a really great direction to take it. And if we can not interrupt the baseball season to get this work done, then that's a win-win. So thank you.
And just before I go to Deputy Mayor Sabrin, just a little clarification piece. When the members of the ball executive came, they were concerned about the fact that a little older age group was using that diamond because there was so much room out there. And they were concerned that that age group would then hit the ball towards our container market. But my understanding is that ball diamond is going to be built and tailored specifically to the younger T-ballers and smaller kids who don't hit the ball as far. And Councillor Kuzu's right, it's a better use of that parking lot. Now we have two parking lots, one for ball, one for container market. Deputy Mayor Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my first question has to do with the letter sign project and just understanding that budget. So we had $90,000 and the quote came in at just under 50, just shy of 50. Has any other money, or what other money, I guess, has been spent out of that letter sign project? Or is there about $40,000 unexpended? I'm just trying to get perspective.
So for the cost of it,
Yeah.
we did spend $9,000 for the engineered design work from Intuit Design,
Okay,
so that we had a tenderable package
okay.
to send out as part of the portfolio, and that we had the artist sizing for the artwork. So when we get the sign, we just awarded that RFQ. There's already been spent then in the neighborhood of $50,000.
Oh, so we have no money left.
50,000. No,
Yeah,
the
sorry, no
the
money, no money left out of that sign budget because the budget's been expensed towards the sign. Is that correct?
sign budget was 90,000.
Yes, correct.
So we've spent 50.
Yes.
So there's 40,000 left.
Okay, so are you talking about the 50 that the quote is on, or what are you talking about? Because it says here, Christine, that the staff issued an RFQ and Steve Pro signed, so it's just under 50. Is that what you're talking about? We've spent 50,000?
Yeah, we've RFQ'd it plus the 9,
So
sorry.
we've spent 60,000. That's what I'm trying to get in my
So we
head.
have $30,000 left.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. That's what I wanted. That's kind of what I knew that part, but I wanted to be sure. Okay, so I had to bring that in because I've never been a fan of spending money that's not been budgeted for. We have enough competing demands. We have enough issues with tax dollars and where we spend them. I have no issue with looking at this as a budgetary item for next year. And I have no issue with, I think it's a good idea in the overall scheme of things to repurpose that ball diamond. So my preference would be that we take that $30,000, we put that into reserve, and then we look at adding, because I'm assuming you don't have other.
We haven't done the artwork yet.
Okay, so let me go back. That's what I want. I want to know how much of that $90,000 is expected, the whole thing?
Yeah.
To be spent. Okay, so we have $80,000 unbudgeted. So I'm not going to be in favor of spending that money this year. Thank you.
Councillor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. And like the Deputy Mayor, I can't support it either because it's unbudgeted money and it's a budget item, really. And you can't look at it in the absence of all the other budget items. It's got to be looked at as a whole group. And yeah, I won't be in favor of spending that money on something that's unbudgeted. Yeah, just not prudent.
We're still on the ball diamond here. Any further questions or comments?
I just want to
Yeah,
reiterate
go
that
ahead.
the tax dollars have already been allocated in other departmental lines. We're just reallocating it because there's an opportunity to do this project in a more timely and efficient manner now than to delay waiting for it. I understand what you're saying in terms of it's not budgeted as a capital project, but it's budgeted dollars. We're not asking for more from the well than was already given. It's just not on that budget line item.
Understand.
Yeah, okay.
So what you're saying is there was some money budgeted for other projects within the recreation and culture budget that weren't
Within the
allocated because there were
facilities.
savings. You know, we had savings this year in certain areas, and that budgeted money is left over.
Maybe Chris can speak better because it's from his budget line item.
Chris, you want to chime in?
Yeah, the funding would come from existing operating and maintenance budgets, not from any capital budgets. So it's existing, whether it's a park maintenance budget or arena grounds maintenance, they're existing operating and maintenance budgets that we have some wiggle room in. And because we're late in the season now and we're looking at what's left for work that's still outstanding or what we see coming in the next few months, because we're coming up to October. So we're confident that there's quite a few line items where we can take a little bit of money from each of them and cobble together the 75 to 80,000 required. So it's not an extra ask of more tax dollars.
And what would happen to that $80,000 if it wasn't spent at all this year?
The money would just, if it's not spent through general maintenance, it would just be available to go back to general revenue or general reserves.
It wouldn't be put into a reserve account or anything?
Well, that would be, I believe, at council's discretion.
Yes. Okay. Councillor Kerman?
Yeah, the fact that the money is coming from places where, you know, we were underspent here or there or whatever is really not the point. It's a procedural point. It's the fact that this is a budgeting type item and it should not be considered in the absence of all the other budget items which might be coming forward to us next year. So I can't be in favor of that. It's not the way that I've seen anything happen at this council table over the years. It just doesn't work that way. Never has, and I certainly won't approve of it.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto that.
Short and sweet. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Driscoll.
Thanks, Mayor. I will say, I understand where you're coming from. I'm a finance person through and through, but when I look at this is not, I get it, it's a capital expenditure, but it's for a piece of capital that's already there. If we had to spend $30,000 to resurface Mullins Park, that would come out of our operational expense. So really we are resurfacing, since we are reusing part of this infield, and we're eliminating the ball diamond to move it to the other side. It's not like we're creating a new ball diamond that we've never had existed before. So I can see the justification of using it from our operational expenses. And that is my justification for it. I understand where you're coming from, but if there was no ball diamond there, I would totally get it, but since there already is one there and we are gonna repurpose it, I'm for this, so.
Councillor Root.
At this point, I support the same as Councillor Driscoll, that this is a project, it's a vision from 2019. We have an opportunity here. This could cost more and delay a lot of things here for next year. We have a window. I think we should take advantage of it. We were going to spend this anyway in this to make this move forward. This is where we were in 2019. I want to see this move forward, so I will be supporting this to take it forward. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I guess we're ready. I'll read you the resolution here. The council supports the proposed reorientation of the ball diamond at Kiddyland Park and authorizes staff to proceed to tender for this work in the fall of 2025. If you're comfortable,
May we have a recorded vote, please?
clerk, can we have a recorded vote on this?
Yes, you can. First, you need a mover and a seconder.
First, we need a mover and a second. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Roots, that council supports the proposed reorientation of the ball diamond at Kiddyland Park and authorizes staff to proceed to tender for this work in the fall of 2025. Is there any particular order, or Don, you're going to do it?
Yeah, I typically will ask the person to call for the recorded vote to vote first,
Okay.
and then I'll proceed around.
Okay.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Sabrin, yay or nay?
Against? Nay?
Nay. Councillor Coutu?
Or
Councillor Carmody?
Nay.
Mayor Service?
Four.
Councillor Root?
4.
Councillor Donovan?
Nay.
And Councillor Driscoll?
4.
Okay, so the motion is carried 4-3.
Okay. Nothing else we have to do? Okay, let's move on to the Petawawa letter sign. So I'll read you the resolution. It's that council approves the proposed location of the Petawawa letter sign at the Kiddyland Park site. I had the opportunity to go up with Christine, Colin Coyle, and Colin Howard, just to look over the site itself. I had some concerns about whether you could see this from the road or not. And there were some nice stakes there that showed where the elevation was going to be. And then a base on top, and then the sign on top, and it was quite obvious from the curved layout and the elevation that was planned that you could see it pretty good from the road. I like the idea of having the trees as a backdrop as opposed to it, you know, being curved towards the ball diamond, which is eventually going to be moved anyways, but it would still be in the background of the sign. And you made a good point about having the sign, if it was horizontal to the road, the only time you would see it is if you were right beside it and you looked and you glanced, and it would be like, oh, and it would just flash by you. So the way that it's orientated, all of the ATVs and cyclists and walkers coming eastward down the Algonquin Trail and all of the cars coming eastward down the Petawawa Boulevard will get a good look at it for like 250, 300 meters. So I think that's a pretty good orientation of the sign itself. Okay, I'll open it up for questions. Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm so very relieved that that was not the proposal, because garish is what was my first thought. And then I thought, maybe I'm just getting too old and I'm no longer hip. But I'm so relieved to know that other people had similar concerns. I love the placement. My other concern was, where was our Indigenous art and things like that? So I know there were lots of concepts. So I support the letter sign, and I'm glad to see that $90,000 will be well invested. Thank you.
And you make a good point about Indigenous aspect of the art, and that will come with once all the concepts are presented. And
So council will recall when PBAN did the first presentation, we actually were using materials, canoes, logging implements, that sort of thing to create the sign. And then as discussion came forward, those things do tarnish, fade, get damaged. Then we moved to creating the art exhibit where it's a visualization of an artist's interpretation of the history of Petawawa on the sign as opposed to those particular pieces, and that we could bring in the canoes and the supboards and or rail implements as part of the design that makes it dynamic and changes it out. So one of the things presented was, you know, each piece of history was represented as part of that initial concept. In speaking with the artist consultant and with a number of artists, working on one letter doesn't create the cohesive sign. There's a movement to use the entire sign as a canvas to tell the story from the first letter to the last letter. And so that will be the approach, giving them the history of the community and asking them to make that a visual representation using the letters of the canvas for that storytelling.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you. So it's very important to me that the Indigenous representation be there, and that will be part of the start of the story, I would assume. That you will be.
Well, the interpretation of the artist's work will be part of their proposal, and then there will be a committee that's set up to select the art proposal that will go on the first iteration of the sign. I don't know that we'll necessarily say to the artist, the Indigenous piece will have to be first. It could be within the portfolio. Yes, it will be in the portfolio. A visualization.
I would suspect though that if it was history from start to finish, that would be first because that's the history, but it may not be because I'm not an artist. As long as it's there, that is what is important to me. Thank you.
Could have the Big Bang first.
No, we did not.
And then
We're not going
some
that
molten magma after that.
We did not. But
Okay, further questions or comments? Councillor Donovan.
Just an observation, the curve that you're recommending, I really like that idea. It's a really long town name, and I think just having that depth to it will make it seem small.
And again, that was part of the consultation with the design engineer firm was to apply that.
Further questions or comments on the sign orientation? Okay, if you're comfortable, then I need a motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Roots. The council approves the proposed location of the Petawawa letter sign at the Kiddyland Park site. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christine. Okay, we're sticking with a common theme here. We're still in the Kiddyland Park area. Just a question before you get started. Are we, once this whole concept is approved and put into place, are we considering changing the name from Kiddyland Park to something else?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, next we have PW-27-2025 Norman Street Access to Petawawa Boulevard Design Option Review. Chris, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Service and members of council. Also, thank you to Christine Mitchell for her segue into my report, which provided pretty much all the background, so we can get right into it. But first off, just wanted to say this has been a big collaborative effort to get to where we are. It involved the town public works, County of Renfrew Public Works, JP2G consultants, the planning and building department, the economic development department, and of course now we're before town council, so it's a long road. But I think where we should start is with looking at the design options. And these were the designs that were presented at the Public Information Center session that was held on September 4th. So we'll start with design option number 1 and just look at some of the highlights for that design option. So Norman Street would be extended to Petawawa Boulevard and would line up with the Fred Street on the east side of the boulevard. A raised center island with curbing would be constructed within the current bidirectional left turn lane in the middle of Petawawa Boulevard. This allows for limited access onto Norman Street from Petawawa Boulevard for vehicles that are traveling southbound only, being a right turn movement. Movement for vehicles traveling northbound along the boulevard, trying to turn left onto Norman Street, would be prohibited by the raised center island. An item to consider though for council to
to keep in mind is the 2027 roundabout that's being planned on the boulevard. So when you think of a car not being able to turn left onto Norman, in a couple of years, they will be able to travel about 600 meters, go around the roundabout and come back to access Norman Street. So that will certainly help. Vehicles exiting from Fred Street would only be allowed to turn right and head northbound. Vehicles wanting to head southbound would do so by using the Dundonald Drive intersection via Wilbert Street. Southbound vehicles along Petawawa Boulevard would not be able to turn left on Fred Street. This movement is restricted by the raised center island. And the raised center island would provide an opportunity to install a pedestrian crossing on the boulevard. So that's really the key design element, I think, for, well, there's two keys to option number one. First off, it provides some regulation or moderation of traffic, we'll say, onto the residential streets. And it also allows for the pedestrian crossover. So currently there's 1,400 meters between pedestrian crossing points on the boulevard. And those existing points right now are at the Civic Center, Town Center intersection and the Mones intersection at Murphy. So that's where currently pedestrians can cross. And between those 2 points is 1,400 meters where we do not have a pedestrian crossing element. And at the Public Information Center, that was a popular aspect of option number one. So there were two aspects of this that the public liked. Obviously, when we're looking at opening up Norman Street access to the boulevard, it's a quiet residential street. You know, I think there were some concerns from the public with regards to people using it as a cut through. So this option does provide some consideration for the residential nature of those two streets and limits some of the access to those roads. I also wanted to point out the green triangle. That is our property encroachment item that we're dealing with. So there's a very long history here. It goes back to 1975, where the gravel road was encroaching on private property. Then the paved roundabout or paved cul-de-sac that was put in many years ago was also encroaching. And now our new road access has been found to still have that issue. So that is, of course, been the big delay with our tendering. We can't tender for construction and we can't have a construction schedule until we rectify this issue. And it's proceeding well. I'm confident it will get completed, but I'll talk further to construction in my report. So that's option number one. And then option number two is essentially removing the concrete island and no pedestrian crossover. So Norman Street would be extended to Petawawa Boulevard to line up with Fred Street on the east side of the boulevard. It allows for full movements to and from Norman Street. Full movements to and from Fred Street would continue as per current conditions. And it's not recommended that a pedestrian crossing be installed. It's simply too wide with no refuge area. Option number one has the concrete island in the middle, which gives crossers the opportunity to utilize more time to safely cross. So a pedestrian crossing doesn't suit with design option number two. So those are the two design options that were presented as part of the public information session that was held. And as I stated in my report, we received positive feedback on design option number one. So after that public information session, we went to a meeting on September the 9th with the county. And that was to review the design options again with the County of Renfrew, Public Works and Engineering staff. And they were also supportive of design option number one, which they had previously endorsed at the county level much earlier in this process. But we did want to review both design options again with the county, just to make sure nothing had changed, that they were still supportive of that option. So the last step involved will be the county, while JP2G is completing a survey as part of the pre-construction process, and they will be dealing with the county directly to approve an easement to allow for the Northern Street Road extension to pass through the county Algonquin Trail property and join with Petawawa Boulevard. They didn't think that that would be an issue. It's more of a formality that they have to pass through their committee and councils. And then as far as tendering, so we want to move forward on tendering. In fact, we were looking to tender this week, but we're still dealing with the property encroachment issue, and lawyers are dealing with that currently. So what we're looking at right now is as soon as we get the encroachment issue dealt with, we will be going to tender. But our window for construction in 2025 is shrinking quickly. So if things had gone according to our plan, and I believe I presented it in my monthly report a few months ago, we were hoping to get to construction around the third week of October and still get some construction work done and then finish in 2026. But right now, myself in conjunction with JP2G are looking at tender options. And I will, of course, bring those to council if and when, hopefully we will get to tender, which I'm confident we still will. But it's looking more like we will tender in 2025 with construction in 2026, which would involve not only coming to council for an approval on the costs for the construction, but also looking to take the capital dollars from 2025 and move them to a new fiscal year. So essentially pre-approving a capital project for 2026. So I just wanted council to be aware of that because we are running out of runway to get construction done. And the colder the weather gets, obviously it affects our paving quality, and certainly the biggest point would be the concrete, proper curing time for the concrete, and cold weather doesn't bode well for the life of the concrete. So we need to take that in consideration. As far as the financial implication, there's nothing with regards to the report being brought before you tonight. We do have a capital budget of $526,409 for this project, and we'll determine how that fits with the plan once we tender and get the construction bids back. I can say that JP2G, in our discussions, they have done this before where they've tendered late in the fiscal year and have a construction project start early in the next year. And their experience with that has actually been the bids have been really, really favorable. I think it comes down to the fact that construction companies get a chance to bid on a late season project and then have a project ready to go in the spring, gets them going as soon as half loads are off, and gets them rolling to get their staff called back from winter layoffs. So I'm still confident if we can get to tender, we'll get favorable numbers. So that's essentially the report regarding the Norman Street design options. And we're looking for council support tonight for design option number 1, which is the diagram before you, which includes the PXO and the curved island within the boulevard.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And I like your point about the favorable tendering. Even if we tender it in 2025 and have to complete the project in 2026. And I'll add to that, I think we've been pretty fortunate in 2025 in terms of our paving and road work tendering prices. I think just about everything that we put out there this year has come in below budget. So
yes, correct.
I hope that's a sign of what we can expect if we tendered it in 2025. And just one thing for clarity, option number 1, I know that the crosswalk is in there, and you may have already mentioned this, but to have a crosswalk, you must have a median because of the width of the road.
I don't know if it's a must, but in consultation with JP2G and their design standards, they didn't recommend it, and the county didn't. Well, I wasn't personally in favor of it either. It is a long distance and it's a busy roadway. The option 1 with the refuge area in the middle also has additional push buttons so that if a person crossing takes a longer time to get to the middle refuge, they have the opportunity to hit the button again to reset the rapid flashers, giving them more time to cross.
Yeah.
So
it's a safety.
It's a safety issue, yes.
Okay, thanks. I'll open it up for questions. Councillor Carmen.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I'll support option number 1. It looks good. You answered all my questions that I had in your explanation of the report, so I like it.
Further questions? Councillor Donovan?
Just a quick clarification. If we could, little diggity dashes up the top. In center lane, are those painted lines?
Yes, we would, that's correct. This was mainly for illustrative purposes. Probably when it's actually in its constructed form, that wouldn't be quite as long. But basically, yes, those are yellow painted chevrons.
And just for council's knowledge, I guess, I had a conversation with Chris about the 2 driveways there. If we do put that median curbing in there, the 2 driveways will still have access from both directions to get into their driveways. Even if they would have to drive on the hashed yellow line, they could still use that as a turning lane to get into their driveway. Deputy Mayor Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely approve of this. I appreciate that there will be another point of crossing. I often see particularly young people trying to cross in different areas, and it just absolutely terrifies me. So that is a good thing. And I just like Chris to use the term carry over a project as opposed to pre-approve, since we already approved it. So that's the terminology I like to use, and I'm fully in support of it. It's a good project. Thanks.
Further questions or comments? Okay, and I will mention that I spoke to several residents that live on, it's Wilbert in the back. And one of the things they mentioned is that when they're walking or driving a scooter or a bike and they come to the Fred Street intersection, it's very difficult to get across there. And it's a long way to get to Mones and a long way to get to Murphy Road to get themselves across. So when I mentioned to them that one of our possible designs had a crosswalk with, push buttons and lights, they were ecstatic.
I might also add, Mr. Mayor, that we do have plans for 2026 as an in-house road project to resurface and reconstruct Wilbert Street. It is in pretty rough condition, so that would also assist with the traffic coming from the Fred Street area and accessing the Dundonald intersection.
Yeah, and I guess a good point there is if they're going to Pembroke, they're already headed in that direction if they go down Wilbert Street to get to Dundonald. Okay, any further questions? If you're comfortable, then I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Coutu. The council endorses design option number 1 for the construction of the Norman Street extension to access Petawawa Boulevard, County Road 51. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we'll go to councillor reports. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. And we'll start with Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the first thing I'd like to report is Doran Road repaving is going swimmingly, and having been a resident on Doran Road for the last 8 years, the sound of silence practically is almost deafening because the amount of noise on that road was pretty severe. I didn't appreciate it until now. It's very smooth, and I'm more relieved now that the section from Petawawa Boulevard and up to Murphy Road is being done, because the ribbing I was taking from some of the residents was unbelievable. Anyways, so that's the first thing. On September the 3rd, I brought my calendar with me this time. On September the 3rd, I chaired a seniors advisory committee meeting, and that same day I also attended the open house at Silver Threads and sat at the booth and talked to folks about the National Seniors Day event on October the 1st. And just to let everyone know, the Eventbrite is now open. If you want to go and register and you're 50 plus, I say 50 plus, we'll be carding people at the door. So it'll be reverse carding. So there we go. Goodness heavens. A lot of other things with my volunteering. Anyway, successful Rotary Golf Tournament was held on the 7th of September. Rotary supports a lot of wonderful causes, and we'll be supporting the National Seniors Day event as well, financially. I attended this past Saturday, the Emergency and Protective Services United event, which was held in Laurentian Valley, and it was absolutely outstanding. The weather was magnificent. The competitors absolutely loved it. We had lots of community involvement, and of course, the three charities, which are the Special Olympics, the St. Joseph's Food Bank, and the Petawawa Pantry will also receive proceeds from this. So thanks to everybody who came out. And a special thanks, I called in Smart Server, Councillor Karen Donovan, last minute, and she was there to help with the throngs of people keeping hydrated. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Carmody.
Not nearly as elaborate, but on September 4th, I attended the information session at the Comfort Station. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Kudu.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to visit the Friday night market at the Container Market. I always favored the Saturday market, but I urge anyone who's looking to fill their fridge with vegetables. Turns out the Friday night market is where they're at. So I discovered that, and I also decided to pop in on the Public Works building and just see what the new public-facing access was all about. So I got to have the experience of walking in the entryway and seeing the beautiful new building, beautiful new asset we have in this town. And I just want to say I'm really proud of the Public Works team, because throughout the whole renovation, I don't think there was a single complaint. So they really have adapted to their new environment, and it's a really functioning, thriving, obviously, Public Works yard, as it always has been and as it was throughout the renovation. So that was cool to see. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the information session at Norman Street, and that would be this report.
Thank you. Councillor Donovan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On the 3rd of September, as with the Deputy Mayor, I was at the Senior Advisory Committee meeting in the morning, and then into the open house here at Silk Threads, meeting and greeting people. It was very well set up. There were lots of information booths. A lot of people took away a lot of good information, so that was great. On the 4th of September, I was at the information session as well for the new area. It'll always be Kiddyland Park in my head. And then on the 13th of September, as you've just realized, I took an injury as well while participating in the Emergency and Protective Services events. It was a lot of fun. Lots of good people. And that was from doing this. Oh, my elbow.
Not from pulling a fire truck. Councillor Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. September 13th, I attended the Garrison Petawawa Family Day celebration. I'm working to continue to bring a great assortment of entertainment and culture to Festival Hall, and at the same time do some upgrading to our facility and sound booth. I encourage local businesses and residents to participate and get involved with the upcoming Petawawa Ramble event. I think this year we're going to see this event really flourish in our town, and this will happen on the October 16th and 19th weekend. And in regards to special pickup from the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery last week for the town of Petawawa, 132 tons were collected compared to 138 from the previous year. So the numbers are a little down, but still this is a very great service to offer to our residents, and really helps clean things up in our town. And again, so important, please continue to shop local wherever you can to support our business community. Thank you.
So we're down on big garbage day.
Yep, big garbage, just a little wee bit though, 132 compared to 138.
So maybe
Yeah, I noticed, I sent a request out because I wanted to know, because when I was driving around, just going to work and that, and doing business in our town, I noticed that things out of the curbside were looked less. And so I sent an email off to Lori out there on Sunday, and I said, like, how are we sitting? And then she just sent this off to me here this evening. So I just want to report that back to council and our residents. But good job by all. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe a few residents less willing to part with their chairs. Okay, on my behalf, on the 3rd, I was here at the Silver Threads open house. Thanks to Councillor Donovan and Deputy Mayor Sabrin and the staff here for organizing such a great event. It was, well, while I was here, it was a really good turnout. And I was surprised by the scope and the breadth of all the activities that are offered here. It's pretty good. And every booth I went to, they were trying to sign me up. You should Scottish dance. You should do that. I guess I am old enough now. I was also at the Comfort Station public meeting, And on the same day, I spent, the whole day out at, what do they call it? The River Barn. We had a Renfrew County strategic planning session. However, the entire day was closed, so I can't really comment too much on what went on, but it was good. On the 7th, I was also at the Rotary Golf Tournament. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sabern, for all of your volunteer work that day. You were there for quite a while. And as always, we raise a lot of money and do a lot of good for the community of Petawawa. On the 8th, I had an intermunicipal meeting. The best way to describe it is our nearby neighbors. We all get together, the mayors and the CAOs. Pembroke, Petawawa, Laurentian Valley, Laurentian Hills, Deep River, Whitewater. We call ourselves the G5. We get together and discuss some common issues and ways that we can share resources and, you know, really work together. On the 9th, it was the Renfrew County Pembroke Liaison meeting, where the county gets together with the city of Pembroke and, of course, discuss their shared responsibilities that come with Pembroke and the county being together on certain aspects. On the 10th was the county council meeting for community services, health, and corporate services. And on the 13th, I had the pleasure of meeting Team Ontario and Team Quebec para hand cycling teams. Our local para hand cycler, Mike Troner, is actually the coach, and he invited these two teams to come to Petawawa to participate in a mini training camp, 3-day training camp. And he worked them pretty hard. They were pretty exhausted by the end of the weekend, but it was great to see such an inspirational group of individuals. A couple of them were veterans of the military, and the rest, and some of them had just taken up the sport. It was the first time they've ever done it. So it was interesting to see them learning how to use the hand cycle. And I did get a chance to use one myself, and it was not easy. I did 5 laps of a parking lot and my arms were on fire and throbbing the rest of the day. And these guys will go 75 kilometers in a day just using their hands. So it's an incredible display of will. And that's it for me. We have nothing for closed. I need a motion for the confirming bylaw. Oh,
Sorry.
one more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, pardon me. I meant to mention it earlier during my report. The Jiu-Jitsu Club up on the base of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under the leadership of Steve Burgess are off to Japan on Friday to represent Canada. They're taking a series of athletes with them, majority of them from the local area. So that's a big event
Right on.
for the Canadian Federation of Jiu-Jitsu.
That's awesome. And I know there's quite a few local kids.
Yep.
Attending, so that's great. Good luck to all of them and have a great time in Japan. And I will also say that the individuals that came from all over Quebec and all over Ontario, the closest person was from Carleton Place, I believe. The rest were from all over the place, Montreal, Toronto. They were very impressed with our community. Very impressed. It's too bad Chris isn't here. Very impressed with the state of our roads. They said, a lot of them said they are willing to move to Petawawa just so they have better roads to train on. And the one individual even went so far as, if I could just convince my girlfriend to come here, I would be here right now. So great job, Petawawa. I need a motion for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1778/25 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1778/25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on September 15th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. This constitutes first, second, and third short reading of the confirming bylaw, September 15th, 2025.
I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the meeting adjourn to the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Very productive.